I'm going to focus on the BIM side, which has been having a big impact in our industry, of course, at the moment. And what I want to do is very briefly touch on what we mean by BIM, look at how the whole information management aspect is important in carbon reduction, and then look at the life cycle of an asset and see how BIM can play a role in each part of that. Now, in terms of what BIM is, there's an awful lot of misinformation out there about it. So sometimes it's worth reflecting on what it isn't. It's not a new fad, it's not just a government mandate, and it certainly isn't just buildings. The government task group has a slightly wordy but quite accurate description. It includes that important word collaboration that we've heard about, and also the fact that it's very much about the entire life cycle of an asset. It's about creating, collating and exchanging 3D models attached to which is structured and intelligent information. I prefer a much simpler definition personally. It's about better information management. And why is that important? Well, frankly, this is something that we have been talking about for years. You can find the earliest reports of this back in the 19th century of people complaining about poor information management causing problems. There's been lots of worthy studies, much research. I did a lot of research on this myself back in the 90s as a main contractor. Poor information management causes inaccuracy, incomplete, missing and uncoordinated information, all of which leads to mistakes, clashes, reworking, waste. Waste means carbon. If you improve that process through better information management, you bring in the efficiencies, you create value rather than waste, and that means carbon reduction. So in the world of BIM, this information is held in a model, which consists of the 3D graphical information. It consists of data and information attached to that model and the documentation that is produced and ultimately handed over to the asset manager. And it's created through a process. BIM is a process that runs through the capital and operational phases of an asset through its whole life. And importantly, this is a process that starts with the end in mind. So it starts with the client, the owner of that asset. And we've already seen that if you have an inspirational client, like Anglian Water, where carbon is really important, you can embed carbon in that process, going from their organizational requirements through the requirements for an individual asset and ultimately into the employer's information requirements to drive the BIM process through a project. So if we turn our attention then to the life cycle of an asset, clearly operational, use and cap carbon are involved at various stages of that process, and as BIM operates through that entire life cycle itself, we can then explore the opportunity for carbon reduction at each stage. So if we start with the capital carbon phase, those of you that have already been working with BIM will recognize the obvious improvements you can make. BIM can drive better design that leaves you with a better asset at the end, facilitates all sorts of analytics. It also leads to more efficient construction with improved logistics. It facilitates off-site construction, of which we've already heard a lot, through tighter tolerances and more imaginative thinking and better control of components. It reduces clashes and mistakes. You generate less waste, you can lose less material, and ultimately you have lower embodied carbon. And when talking about embodied carbon, of course, BIM facilitates the interaction with design tools and methodologies for measuring LCAs that can then feed into various standards such as BREEAM or SQL. One example I'll start with is a buildings example. Because of the shorter life cycle of these projects, we have rather more examples at the moment, and it's interesting that currently the highest scoring BREEAM project, the Co-op headquarters in Manchester, the team there specifically referred to BIM as having played a key role in getting to that endpoint through helping to enable the innovative design, which in itself will feed into the operational carbon, but also in optimizing the construction and the logistics and reducing waste. One particular infrastructure project that we've been involved with through RPS is the big motorway improvement scheme up in Scotland at the moment, where full implementation of BIM Level 2 is being applied. It's been used in a variety of ways on this project, through scenario planning and through driving better design and construction efficiency. It certainly has also homed in on that issue of prefabrication again, and has specifically targeted metadata around LCA and carbon reporting. The construction work is now underway, and those BIM models are now being enriched as the construction progresses. So the client at the end is going to get a much better model to manage that asset. The other thing I like about BIM is that it enables other new digital technologies. And this year, Costain and Sensat won the Innovation Award at Construction News for their use of unmanned aerial vehicles and photogrammetry, which integrated that into their BIM models. They used it specifically for improving the whole cut and fill process, but also for updating the 3D model to provide a better asset model at the handover stage to the client. Once the asset is in use, we have less decent case study information on the benefits of BIM, but I think you can see the obvious opportunities there. Certainly BIM can help in the design process to model user interactions and improve the asset from that point of view, but of course also you can integrate it with that whole area of information systems. You see these information systems already today on buses and trains and the like. And this takes us into that whole future of smart structures, the Internet of Things, big data, and of course the journey to level 3 BIM, which I think can only find new ways of using those technologies to help us manage carbon. In terms of this sort of operations and maintenance of an asset, for me the starting point with BIM is the huge benefit it brings in terms of managing that performance gap that we've already heard about. Better design, resulting in that gap being reduced, lower energy consumption in use, and also more efficient maintenance, less waste, and making it easier to reuse and recycle components as you come to do replacements on that asset. I spent some time a little while ago down at Gatwick Airport. They've been using BIM Level 2 now for all of their new asset procurement. Talking to the owner there, they were almost dismissive actually about the benefits of the capital phase, because what they were reaping was the real benefits in terms of the operation of those assets, in terms of making it easier to procure services and materials, much less waste, improved energy efficiency, also improved health and safety, and of course lower disruption to the operation of their asset, which again brings you carbon reduction. Finally, when we get to the end of life, although actually personally I don't like to use that term end of life, I very much subscribe to the circular economy, we've been looking at this through a large research project at the moment called BAM, which stands for Buildings as Materials Banks. And this project is looking at creating materials passports and also at looking at reversible construction. And it's very much empowered by the use of BIM, which means that you can create a much more efficient deconstruction and better reuse and recycle those materials that are in that asset. So to sum up, I would say that better information management creates value and reduces waste, and that means carbon reduction. BIM is a tool by which we can drive better information management to reduce carbon, and it is a journey that will continue. When trying to sell the benefits of this, you're not trying to sell something new that you have to do as well as. For me, it's just part of that digital revolution, and it is inevitable. We will be going down a BIM pathway for the future. The one thing I would say is what we could really do with in making that case is better case study information with really hard facts about it. We've heard about this previously today. It's about measurement and facts. If you're not truly measuring things, as a sportsman once said, you're just practicing if you're not keeping the score. So I think getting better case studies is a great way to push this forward and particularly influence those groups who would benefit from applying BIM as a carbon reduction tool. So a very rapid run through what's a very large topic, and be delighted to come back and take any questions in the question time. Thank you.